Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the Hi-Fi Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. My name is Jeremy, and we're continuing on through the month of August, and we're so excited to have you along for this ride with us. This month, we're talking about, for preschoolers, is Follow the Leader. God has a plan for me. And I got to tell you, Follow the Leader is just one of my favorite games, and so I love that we're doing that theme for preschoolers. It's so much fun. And for kids, this is I Am Designed for a Purpose, Next Up. And so that's where we are with our preschoolers and our kids in how they relate to this particular truth this month. Our theme verse, we're using the same reference, just slightly different parts of the reference for the preschoolers and the kids. For preschoolers, our theme verse is "Let your light shine before others," Matthew 5:16a. And then for kids, "Let your light shine before others," and then we include that last part, "so they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." And so that is really what we want to focus on. In this whole month, we've been talking about how we're designed for something. And this particular session about not worrying is part of that design. God doesn't want us to worry. He wants us to trust in him completely. So let's jump in. In this episode, I've got Crystal and Rachel along with me. And ladies, let's just jump right into a question. So I already kind of teased out our story, and we'll get to that in just a second. But so think about worry, think about fears. Sometimes we all have these little irrational fears, and probably depending on what we think they are, or whether or not we actually think they're irrational, but they fall under this category of irrational fears or worries. Crystal, Rachel, what are some irrational fears and maybe slightly irrational fears or worries that you have? Is there anything you can share with our leaders about your story?
Well, it's hard for me to pick because I have a couple. Number one, I'm terrified of birds. Number two, I don't like birds at all. I don't trust them. I don't like them. I think that they're going to poop on me.
Right.
Number
Do you also
two,
not like butterflies?
I hate butterflies. Really anything that can fly. But we're not, that wasn't even the one I wanted to get in on, you guys. Just let me be who I am. Number two, though, is one that Jeremy knows and loves to take advantage of when he sees me. And it's that I don't like to see wood in people's mouths. I don't want wood in my own mouth. And I don't like seeing wood in other people's mouths, like toothpicks, or the worst is like a popsicle stick. If I get to the end of a popsicle stick, I bite the ice cream or the popsicle off. So I don't actually have to touch it to my tongue, but I don't like when people keep them in their mouths and chew on them. And Jeremy, literally anytime he is around me, I feel like he finds something wooden to just start chewing on and walk up to me and be like, "Hey, Crystal, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Bleh." But the one that most recently came up, I know you only said one, Jeremy, but I'm giving you three. Number three is actually frogs. I am very, very scared of frogs. You would think living in Washington, there would be tons of frogs, but believe it or not, I don't see a ton. Yesterday, though, I was getting out my weed whacker. Fun note, Kayla told me that some people call it a weed eater. I'd never heard that in my life before, but I've always called it a weed whacker. It's an electric one, so it's got a big battery that has to go into it. And I pulled out the weed whacker and I looked to where the battery needs to go. And I'm like, "What is in there?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a frog." And I threw it to the ground, and the frog flew. It was flying out, landed in some bushes, and I came inside, and it took me about 10 minutes to calm down. I was on the verge of tears so much because that's how much frogs freak me out. So there you go. I'm irrational. I know it, and that's okay.
I really want to go back to the bird one because I got a story, but we'll move on. Rachel, what about you?
I need to say that I did not know Crystal liked butterflies or didn't like butterflies. And not long ago, I sent her this picture of butterflies everywhere because I thought, this is magical. And she was like, "Ew."
Sent her into a...
It was not, I don't need pictures of flying things.
But for me, it's snakes. It's irrational. I shake. I freak out. I kind of come unglued. I've left my children on trails. I've left because there were snakes. There was a snake in our garden a few weeks ago, and I've not been back to the garden. I've sent my kids to go pick tomatoes.
That's
um,
hilarious.
our favorite like spot at the lake. I saw a snake a year ago, and I've not been back to our favorite spot at the lake. I found a new spot at the lake. Um,
Wow.
because I think that they like are waiting for me to come back. But they freak me out. One day there was a snake in our like driveway, and I called my husband at work, and I missed like a doctor's appointment because I wouldn't leave the house, and he had to like take an hour and come home and move the snake so I could leave the house.
Wow.
So I can't stand them. They freak me out, and I
Yeah.
become like hysterical.
Well, I don't know that I would call any of those irrational. Maybe frog. That's weird. But everything else,
Oh.
that's probably good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah. So we all have different things that that kind of trigger us in one of those ways. And we kind of shift our focus here to thinking about our story, which is out of Matthew 6, where Jesus is telling us and really commanding us not to worry about the things because of all of the way he cares for all of creation. We know that listeners, many of you have probably read some of the popular books out there about the anxiety of this generation, the kids that we serve, and so we know that that's a real thing for many of the kids that we serve, the high anxiety and the worry that they carry. So, Kristen, let me come to you. We're going to talk about this Bible story. Help us connect this Bible story about not worrying from Matthew 6, and how do we trust Jesus and what Jesus says in the midst of as we're helping kids to see in the midst of the worry and the anxiety they experience, and want to get to also if kids aren't experiencing that,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, yeah, I'm not worrying. Of course, I can trust you. How do we kind of walk that line with the kids that we serve through this Bible story?
First off, I feel like I need to say we have been wanting to teach this Bible story for quite a while.
Mm,
We think about it often when we are thinking about the truth that we are known by God, or God knows me, because we know that in this story that Jesus tells, he mentions that God knows every hair that is on your head. And we're like, man, that is just it's such a powerful truth to know. But what we've also realized is that that's not the point of what Jesus is talking about. He wasn't just saying that so that we would know that we are known by God, but it's within this context of him talking about worry, specifically worry over the future and worry over the unknown. And Jesus reminds people as he teaches, he says, think about the flowers of the field. Like, they do nothing, and yet they're more beautiful than anything that one person could design or make. Think about the birds of the air. They don't worry or fear over what they're going to eat because God takes care of them. So if God cares for flowers and provides for flowers, and God cares for birds and provides for birds, then you can know that as a person who is created in God's image, he sees you, knows you, and cares about you, and you can trust him with your future. You can trust him to provide, and you can trust him with the unknown, because really that's what worry is, right? Like, worry is anxiety over the unknown, anxiety over a what if, over a situation, over something that is going to happen or that might happen or that might not happen. But there's zero that we can do to impact those things. Like, we've got enough. Jesus even finishes it. He's like, you've got enough going on today. Like, if you're going to worry about anything, focus on what's happening in your life today. But God's got you. He's got you tomorrow. He's got you the next week, the next month, the next year. God's got you for the whole future. And let's keep in mind, this is Jesus telling this story. Jesus, who his whole life knew God's plan for his life involved dying a painful death on the cross. And yet he is saying, don't worry about the future. Don't worry about what you can't control. And so we get to help preschoolers and kids see that when we have this relationship with God, we can know that we are so secure in him, that he is so good and so in control. We don't need to worry about what we don't know and what we can't control. We can just give those over to God and trust and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is going to take care of us. on that flip side, those kids who are like, oh man, like my parents take care of me. I never have to worry about anything. I know all that's going I'm never worried. First off, that is awesome. You are living a great life. That is fantastic. While this may not be a truth that you need today in this moment, it will be something that you will need in the future because all of us will struggle with control. All of us will struggle with worry. All of us will struggle with trust. And so celebrate with kids who say, I actually don't feel like I ever worry, and say, that's awesome. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because everything in your life is going so well? Because that's great. But what about when things aren't going well? You still want to trust God. You still want to give those worries over to Him. You want to get in the practice of praying and admitting to God when you're worried and asking Him to help you. And so I just think this story is going to be so good and so encouraging to know that part of God's purpose for our lives is not to worry. It's to trust him. It's to rely on him. It's to count on him. And it's to believe that he loves us and takes care of us no matter what we're facing.
That's good. Rachel, let's shift just slightly, just kind of coming at it from a slightly different angle. A lot of kids that, particularly maybe older kids, would be like, I want to trust Jesus. I don't want to worry. I don't want to feel like this, but I do. I feel this way. How do we work with preschoolers and kids and kind of help start to coach them about what God has to say about that feeling that they can't seem to get past?
Yeah. I love that you described it, as that feeling of being worried, because sometimes you can intellectually know God's got this. He's going to take
Mm-hmm.
care of this. But that feeling can just sneak in there,
Yeah.
and it can be hard to tame. And so I think one thing is giving preschoolers and kids language for it. And like you just said, the feeling of being worried. I think it's talking through with them what it means to trust Jesus, because it's a concept, it's a statement that we say a lot, but do we explain, really what that means to trust Jesus? And so
Mm-hmm.
teaching them that we can have this trusting Jesus means having the confidence to know that he's going to meet our need. He's going to provide for us. He's going to be there for us, and he's going to be with us no matter what happens. And but sometimes we can know that and still feel anxious and still feel those
Mm-hmm.
moments of anxiety. And I think talking to preschoolers and kids about things you can do to manage those feelings, I think the first thing is to start by praying about it. Oh, you still seem to look like you're feeling worried about this. Can we stop and pray about this right now? And we can pray and ask God to help them in the situation they're worried about, and then ask God to help them with the feeling of being worried.
Mm-hmm.
Show them that these are things we can take directly to God and He will help us. And then I think also part of it is going to be some training in their brain, because they may have had a thought and immediately felt anxiety for so long that they need some time to kind of rewire that process, to learn how to trust God, and to teach them to stop and pray. Then teach them to take a minute and take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes it helps to say, well, what are you worried about? What are you worried is going to happen? And like name what's going on, so then they can really give words to their prayers that they're going to
Mm-hmm.
pray. And then also, I think helping them name ways God's been faithful will really build trust. Help them talk about ways we can see God's faithfulness in scripture so they can trust him. And then
Yeah.
specifically name ways in their own lives where they've trusted God and he's provided,
Mm.
because I think that's going to help them kind of rewire that ability to trust and to have that peace and that settled feeling of really knowing God is going to work in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because helping them see, oh, this isn't the first time this has happened. This isn't the first time I've needed God to provide. I've needed to provide in these 20 or 30 ways even, that he has been faithful to do that, so I can trust him. And so
Yeah.
I think it's building a language, teaching them to go to God first, and then teaching them to stop and kind of name it and manage it. I
Mm.
think is really beneficial, because those are skills that they can continue to put into practice, even when they're not in your class that day.
That's good.
Yeah, that's really good, and I love the key takeaway. One of the things that you said I'll say that not the key takeaway. One of the things you said was talk about prayer, like seek first the kingdom of God. When as listeners, as you know, so many times what we want to help draw out is the relational language here, and worry, anxiety. Those are oftentimes when kids are feeling that, when preschoolers are feeling that, when we feel that, is oftentimes because of the absence of some sort of relational connection of control. Like we feel like I can't control this thing or this person, or this other person is putting something on top of me that I can't like there's oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes there is some element of relational connection. And when we don't trust God, it is a lack of trust in relationship, in his relationship of proving to himself to be good over time. And so, I think going that the idea of prayer, that's such a meaningful thing. We know Philippians, it talks about, you mentioned, Rachel, the Thanksgiving, like, present your request to God. Like that is such an important thing to combat anxiety and worry, is to as we set our minds on the things of God, to seek first the kingdom of God, and we do that with a thankful heart. It helps us to see that the worries and the anxiety, that is not so big in our lives. And I think those are some really practical tools. What about our leaders? What word of encouragement do y'all have for our leaders in their daily lives and the lives that they lead, the ministries that they are involved in with kids? What about what takeaway for them do they have in this do not worry story?
When we serve kids and families that we genuinely care about, that can bring worry. When we see them struggling, when we see them suffering, when we see difficulties come their way, it's really easy for us to worry because they're people that we really care about. We want what's best for them. And so I think, just echoing what Rachel was just talking about, that when we find ourselves growing worried or anxious over kids, over their situations, over their families, that our first response should be to stop and pray. That we just bring it before the Lord and trust that he sees, that he knows, that he loves, and that he cares more than we do, certainly. And that the same way that he's got us, he's got them as well. But the unique opportunity that we have as leaders as well is that we can take action if we feel like God leads us that way. So whether it's a conversation that we need to have because of a situation, connecting people with resources because of a situation, or even sometimes the difficult times when, as mandated reporters, we have to have a conversation with one of our pastors, children's director, or even the police, because of something that is happening. But just recognizing that God can work through us to help with some of the things that we might feel worried and anxious about in the lives of those that we serve.
Yeah, that's really good advice, Crystal. And I think to only take it like one extra step further, would be, I was going to say, to just be praying for our families. And the other step was to let them know we're praying for them, to build trust in their hearts to let them learn, realize that they're being prayed for, and know maybe in those moments, oh, these people have been praying for me and I've seen God move in this way, and to build that faith in them as well. I used to keep a calendar. And so every week I would assign myself a grade. So like babies, toddlers, second grade, third grade, whatever it was, when I was in children's ministry. And I would divide that list up all week long and pray for those families specifically.
Awesome.
And either call them, text them, or send the kids a card that said, I prayed for you today. Because I wanted to not just pray for them, but for also for them to recognize that they're being prayed for, and not in a like, oh, I toot my own horn, because I prayed for you, but really for their faith, because they know what they're going through that day. They know what's on their mind and their heart, and to just reassure them that God's working in their lives, and he's working to grow their faith. And so I think praying for them is the best thing we can do. And I think it's also powerful to remind them we're praying for them.
Yeah, and if I can slide a third one in there too, Rachel,
Yeah.
is praying with them. So a
Yes.
kid or a preschooler comes and they share something that they are worried about, that we just stop in that moment and we pray with them. At pickup, a parent shares with us a hard thing that's going on. And we just say, can we just pray about that right now? And so, like, praying for them, letting them know that you're praying for them, but then also praying with them, I think is a beautiful prayer trifecta that we can do for the kids and families we serve.
So helpful, ladies. Thank you so much. Listeners, we really are praying for you, and we hope that this is a timely, a timely session for you here in the middle of August. Some of you will have a few weeks of school under your belt. Some of you have not done that yet. Some of you will be looking to start school in a few weeks, and that's okay. But and this is for, in my mind, this is why this is such a timely session, because as you're starting a new school year, whether you've started already or about to start, that's a time when anxieties can kind of get ramped up for a lot of kids. New things, new changes, new classes, even in your ministry, can even cause some of this worry and anxiety. And so, just be aware and be sensitive to all of those things that your kids are carrying as they come into your ministry. Listeners, thanks for joining us for another episode. Just as a reminder, and we've said this a lot, I feel like, but just I want to keep saying it. We're kind of 3/5 through the way of this month. When we turn the corner, we're going to be in our second 3-year cycle. So we are wrapping up our first 3-year cycle. We're getting ready to start. So there's some new changes coming, and you've probably seen either here, in the Facebook group. If you're in the Facebook group, you've seen it there, or in Ministry Grid and the overview page, you've had maybe some links there. Here in the podcast, we've got some podcast things. So there's all of these places. What we're trying to do is help you be ready for the upcoming changes for our second cycle. Some of those are around Hooray Day and Game Changer, which we'll get to in a couple of weeks. I'll talk a little bit more about that. New truths and the way that the truth order is changed, what's coming new in Hi-Fi students, and how that alignment between preschool kids and students is working. And so there's a lot of stuff happening in our second cycle. And so we've tried to put out as much as we can in the form of podcasts and blogs and videos to help you be ready and prepared for turning the page from August into September, to be ready for all of that. But as I said a second ago, we're praying for you. We're praying that this session will be meaningful to you, meaningful to the preschool kids, students, families that you serve in your ministry, and know that this is a place where we can create real connection and true belonging as we talk about something that's really real to a lot of students, this idea of anxiety and worry. So until next time, we'll catch you later.